기적의 분식집!
Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's check out Miracle Snack Shop running on Nintendo Switch. Okay, what do I got here for settings? Text speed is nice and fast. I think these are all okay. Got just Philia and Mira for voices. Okay, so did we get any of the extras? I don't think so. Yeah, let's roll. Alright, let's see, did we? Can't remember what platform I started this game on. I think I have it on all the platforms. My life was like this empty bowl, destined to be filled with shaved ice. At first I was completely empty, dressed up right, though I could become any kind of shaved ice. My empty bowl was a vessel of infinite potential, and I could become whatever kind of shaved ice I wanted to be. I could be shaved ice topped with fruit, perfect for a romantic date at a cafe. I could be topped with blueberries, giving off an air of luxury and wealth. I could be mixed with brie, not for everyone, but maybe just right for a certain successful businessman with expensive tastes. I could be mixed with an expensive coffee blend, suited for that intelligent but rather cold city gentleman. I could get a little sidetracked and end up getting mixed with black sesame seeds, showing off some of the more strange and unique sides of this world. Maybe I could just be a traditional shaved ice dessert from Seolhwa, a city with rich Korean tradition. The possibilities were simply endless. Sorry to spoil the ending so soon, but I ended up being just your normal shaved ice, topped with a red bean paste that we Koreans call pat. This was me in my late teens. Even as the ice was being shaved down, I still had hope. That's because at that point there was nothing to distinguish me from anyone else. Shaved ice, no matter whether it's topped with fruit, coffee, or whatever, all starts out as ice, plain and simple. Everyone around me started out the same way. I had no idea at the time. How could I know that I'd be regular old shaved ice, and that the people around me would turn into all those beautiful desserts that I described before? Of course, there were a few people who were noticeably different from birth. They were the ices flavored with chocolate and green tea before the shaving even began, separating them from the pack at an early age. Everyone knows those kinds of people. They collect awards like it's some kind of hobby to them. Things are different for those kinds of people. They are so unique they don't even factor into this kind of metaphor. Well, like I said, I still had a dream at this point. I was determined to become shaved ice that was truly amazing. I'd just like to clarify that this was all a big metaphor. This was me in my mid-20s. Specifically, it was right after my mandatory stint in the military that Korean men are required to serve. Before I had even realized what had happened, I had become normal shaved ice topped with red bean paste. It was just like every other shaved ice walking around with a few years of experience in the military. I had no fresh new flavors. I was just your regular old run-of-the-mill shaved ice. I couldn't believe it, but I had been rushing through life just to become your everyday man on the street at 25 years old. I started to lose my energy for life. I started to feel like old age was creeping up on my heels. I even thought my eyesight was going. Even with all the signs, I couldn't accept defeat. I couldn't accept the fact that I was just regular old shaved ice. I wouldn't give up. I'd make my own new flavors. But I didn't know back then. I didn't know that all of that effort to change myself was just adding new toppings onto the old ones. This was me in my late 20s. I tried my best, but things just didn't work out. My efforts to better myself added some interesting toppings here and there, but I didn't have any sense of direction. All of the random jobs that I tried out did nothing to strengthen my idea of who I actually was. Life wasn't following in one clear direction. I'd start one thing and then quit when things weren't working out. All these incomplete experiences just piled on toppings. Before I realized what had happened, I had become a complete mess of shaved ice and toppings, a mess of part-time jobs and no real skills. Messy shaved ice. Just saying that made me sad, but I didn't give up. My shaved ice dream wasn't over yet. I was determined to become an attractive shaved ice, successful shaved ice. The more I said it, the worse it sounded. Successful. Shh, it didn't sound that good. Just like that, I was lost, wandering through life, when suddenly an old friend from high school got in touch with me. To keep a metaphor going, a wild shaved ice appeared. I was a lost and confused little shaved ice, but standing in front of me was a sleek, dressed-up shaved ice with a splash of coffee mixed in. From one shaved ice to another. What do you think about a partnership? Okay, this metaphor has grown legs and run off on me. My friend, dressed in his custom-tailored suit, suggested we open up an online shopping site together. He said he had been studying fashion and had a line on some imported clothes. He dressed the part, so unlike my scruffy-looking shaved ice self, he looked like a snazzy shaved ice that could get things done. For some reason, I trusted him. And that's how the shabby shaved ice miraculously stumbled upon his partnership with the coffee shaved ice. The outcome was obvious. I started a business with my friend. Doesn't everyone know the ending of that story? And it all ended like this. This is the present situation. This is an artist's rendition of the 31-year-old Seolhwa Cha, who, after a failed joint venture, was left with a staggering amount of debt. Like a tower of blocks stacked much too high, all the toppings of my life crashed down on me. That's what happens when you let other thoughts get in the way. What a mess. That's how I ended up serving shaved ice at this snack shop. I skipped over a few parts of the story. I forgot, there is an epilogue to the tragic partnership between the shabby shaved ice and the coffee shaved ice. Epilogue sounds much too grand. Let's call it the cookie topping. What's the name of that title scene at the end of the movies? The credit cookie? Anyway, I scoured the country trying to find my friend who had gone into hiding. I never found him, but I did find his parents. He probably fled the country, so getting the money from him would be out of the question. Instead, I told his parents about the seriousness of my current situation. Your precious son left me with all this debt and run off. Is there any way we can fix this? I felt like some kind of a vicious loan shark saying that. We can't come up with that kind of money right now. Out of all the bad things that had happened, I had to at least be thankful he didn't just slam the door in my face. For this shaved ice caught in a never-ending spiral that was drawing him into the abyss, there was one last ray of hope. I have a small restaurant in the neighborhood that sells snacks and desserts. Could that be of any help to you? So it's a snack shop? That's how I came to run this small restaurant with a studio on the second floor, until I was able to pay off my debts at least. Right when it was signed over to me, I heard something strange from the real estate agent. Someone died in the room upstairs. It's haunted. The building has so many suspicious rumors floating around about it that I couldn't sell the property or find anyone who was willing to rent it. Having all that sprung on me at the last second made me feel a bit misled, but who was I to complain? At least I'd found a way out. In the course of one eventful morning, I had become the owner of a little snack shop. I wanted to change the sign over the door and the menus, but I didn't have the cash to change either. Instead, I just opened it as it was. The place was called Miracle Snack Shop. They normally sold tteokbokki, rice cakes served in a spicy sauce, and a variety of fried food like tempura. Since it was summer, they had added shaved ice, known as bingsu, into their menu. Since all the equipment there was there and ready, I decided to try my hand at making my own shaved ice. After all, I needed the practice. I tried my best, but this was all I could manage. I got rid of my failed shaved ice experiment. I looked around the place and was greeted by an empty store. Not a customer in sight. When I took over the store, I'd heard that business wasn't great. I hadn't expected that to mean that there were no customers at all. Time flies when you're having fun. There was actually a bigger issue than not having any customers. Maybe it wasn't bigger? Oh, when you actually got down to it, there weren't many problems bigger than having no customers, were there? Come to think of it, the two things weren't really comparable. My mind went back to the strange thing that the real estate agent had said. This place was apparently haunted. No details came after that claim. They were just rumors. I wasn't really a superstitious person, but it never felt good to hear that a place you were supposed to but it never felt good to hear that about a place you were supposed to inhabit. The rumors just nagged at you from the back of your mind. Maybe the rumors were what were keeping the customers away as well. Still, I didn't give it much serious thought. It wasn't like I was suddenly being plagued with nightmares or anything. Rumors were just that, rumors. That was what I thought before that thing appeared upstairs. Carry out the action. I'm exhausted. I hadn't done that much, but I felt so tired. Was this the plight of all business owners? I hadn't worked that hard, but at the end of the day, the exhaustion all flooded in at once. If I were swarmed with customers and unable to get a second's rest, would that give me back some of my energy? How could I know when it never happened? I walked to the corner of my little studio, and I threw open the curtains there. As I did, I was able to see the portal shimmering there. This portal had been the source of all my worries these days. A month ago, I had discovered this mysterious portal in the corner of the attic living space. It's definitely not just my mind playing tricks on me. I hadn't moved an inch in the past month. I knew what it was. I'd seen plenty of portals in video games and movies. A magical door that connects two distinct places. The problem was, I couldn't see through the portal to see where it led. All I could see was a swirling vortex. I had no clue where it went. If I were 10 years younger, I would have just jumped in without a second thought. But the years had made me more cautious and concerned for my own safety. I couldn't just throw myself into the vortex without knowing what dangers lie ahead. And I'd be in serious trouble if I couldn't come back. Since I couldn't figure out where the portal would lead, I just let it hang where it was for a whole month. My friends would get a kick out of this if they were to hear about it. If a portal appears inside of your own house, shouldn't you at least go see where it leads? Of course it's going to lead to some fantasy world. That's common sense, ain't it? Actually, being confronted with the situation was a completely different story. What if the portal were to send me back to the Jurassic or something? Maybe a dinosaur's gaping mouth was waiting for me on the other end. If I had absolutely nothing to lose on this end, I'd jump in without a second thought. But I was too much of a coward to risk the little I had. The portal itself could even be dangerous. I didn't know where it led, if it was safe, or if I could get back. Until I could confirm those things, it wasn't safe to act rashly or even touch the thing. I didn't even know if the thing was even stable. What if passing through created an explosion and pieces of the snack shop were sent flying into the street? In an act of desperation, I taped my phone to the edge of a small rod and stuck it through the portal. Figured I could see the phone's camera on a timer to snap, or figured I could set the phone's camera on a timer to snap a picture. I was rather excited to see what was on the other side. But a black screen was all I got. I couldn't tell if the phone had malfunctioned or if only darkness lay on the other side of the portal. Another day wasted as I stared at the portal and wondered what was on the other side. It'd be so much better if someone just jumped out and simply told me, "It's safe to go through, come on in." Then couldn't it just as easily be a monster that would have jumped out? Nah. A strangely dressed woman popped out of the portal. As I was staring at the portal, she suddenly appeared, running straight in my direction. Running into my arms. But I dodged out of the way right before she collided with me. Whew, almost got me. I would have been run over by a strange woman. A good thing I was paying attention. Huh? Was it just me? It felt hot in that attic, like heat was suddenly radiating off of someone or something or someone. Miss, are you okay? The strange woman stared at me with fear in her eyes, but her outfit was extravagant. She looked like she had just come from some frozen tundra. Could that mean that this portal led to some place like Russia or Siberia? I stared at the mysterious lady who had suddenly appeared from the portal. She stared at me, then her lips parted as she began to speak. The first words to come out of her mouth were, are you going to ask me what year it is? Never mind. I thought you might be a time traveler or something. I was so excited that I interrupted her. I closed my mouth and waited for her to try again. She opened her mouth to speak again. I wasn't aware of how intently I was waiting to hear her speak, but I could feel my Adam's apple travel up and down as I gulped in anticipation. Right when I saw her, I had this feeling in my gut that our meeting was destined by fate. This was a crucial moment. Her first words would be engraved in my brain for the rest of my natural life. With all the drama of the situation hanging over my head, the first words out of her mouth were,
Voices?
I had no idea what she said. Do you speak Korean?
Good.
Do you speak English?
Anglicus?
She definitely wasn't Korean. I couldn't tell what language she was speaking. All I knew was that I couldn't understand a single word she was saying. I tried a few other questions after that, but the only replies I got all started with something that sounded like "coo" to me. She must have realized that I didn't understand her because she stopped speaking altogether. It sounded like she was cooing like a pigeon. Coo? 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 She glared at me again. Why? What had I said? I was just trying to copy what she had been saying. I heard her stomach growling. Are you hungry? She didn't have to say anything for me to understand that she was rather embarrassed. I thought about how to communicate the question and then tried to act out eating with my hands. She must have understood my game of charades because she replied with a slight nod. What can I make for her? I had already shut off all the machines and put them away, so there wasn't a lot I could make for her. The fastest thing I could whip up was, I could easily put together a bowl of shaved ice. I took out the ice shaving machine, filled it with ice cubes, and made my usual shaved ice topped with red bean paste. But when she saw what I was making, she didn't look very happy.
Glaces?
Glacius?
Glaces.
Why? Did she have something against ice? I figure she must not have shaved ice wherever she came from. Oh, don't be like that. Just try it. It's not like I poisoned it or anything. Right. What's the use of explaining? What's the use explaining? It wasn't like she understood a single word I was saying anyway. Then suddenly she seemed shocked. What had she seen that scared her so badly? I tried to see what she was looking at. It was nothing but my empty restaurant. Was she shocked at how empty the place was? She flailed her arms through the air. I didn't notice anything there, but she was waving her arms as if something was hovering in front of her. It looked like she was swiping on some giant tablet. Was she seeing things? Or could it be the ghost I had been warned about?
Or?
Huh?
Glaces. Or?
Did you just say ice? Ice?
Or?
Right, ice.
Or? Glaces. Or?
She frowned, her eyes moving between me and the space between us. Then she began waving her arms boisterously through the air again. It looked like someone swiping between screens. I couldn't see anything, but from the way she was moving, it definitely seemed like there was something there. Was this the feeling people got when they watch others play VR games? I had no idea what she was doing, but whatever it was helping her understand a little bit of what I was saying. Should I give it another go? I pointed at the shaved ice and said, "Shaved ice."
ペンス
Shaved ice.
سيدي قلب بالكلاتشيس 빙수
Right, shaved ice with red beans.
빙수 팥빙수
Oh, red beans are, well, they go on top of the shaved ice. Red beans are, some call them audap beans. Like that would help at all. It's a bean. It's sweet and red. She must have been having a hard time with sentences, so I decided to communicate with just a few words. Red bean.
로브스 바바 빨간 콩
Right, red bean. The red beans and shaved ice come together to create shaved ice with red bean paste.
로브스 바바 سيدي قلب بالكلاتشيس
Please speak my language.
빨간 콩 빙수
Wow, now we're talking. I guess you can understand me. She stared at the space between us again. I couldn't be sure, but there must have been some invisible translation device hovering in the space between us. My name is, Seolhwa Cha. If it was a translation device, it was having trouble with sentences. Name.
노미네
Seolhwa Cha.
디 스토리아
Not tortilla. Seolhwa Cha. Call me, Seolhwa.
소라
Seolhwa.
설
Then what's your name? What can I call you? This again. I'd remember to keep it to words. Simple words. Your name.
레지나 살리스
Then can I call you Regina? Your name, Regina?
레지나 여왕 레지나 살리스 소금 여왕
She was a queen. I had no idea. How did she end up coming to such a normal place like... Oh yeah, she came through the portal. Then I should call you Queen Salt? She nodded. Queen Salt. I'd never heard a title like that in my life. Was there some country of salt on the other side of the world that I'd never heard about? Okay then. Welcome to the Miracle Snack Shop, Queen Salt. Brilliant Miracle Snack Shop. I don't think I can do anything, right? Yeah, I have no money. Queen Salt of the Salt Kingdom. She suddenly ran out of the portal. She's been visiting every week. She must really like my desserts. I feel like she has a story to tell. Back to the story. The queen scooped out a spoonful of shaved ice and brought it to her mouth with a grimace. She gathered up the courage to take a bite and...
그렇지
She dropped the spoon at the last second. If someone had been watching, they would have thought I was forcing her to eat something awful. There was no other choice, though. I scooped out another spoonful, careful to get some shaved ice and some of the red bean topping.
얼음 얼음 얼음
She just kept shouting ice and glaring at me. Yeah, I got it. For some reason, the idea of eating ice was making her angry. I snuck the spoonful of shaved ice closer and closer. And right when her anger was at its highest, I shoved the spoon in her mouth. Got her. Right when I stuck the spoon into her mouth, it was like she went into a complete shock. Her eyes darted here and there. Then she just stopped. Yep, I can guess what thoughts were going through her mind. How can ice possibly taste like this? That's exactly what she was thinking. Would I react the same way if I went to another country and someone stuck a spoonful of something weird in my mouth? It probably looked pretty strange to her, but it sure did taste good. That must have been why she was reacting like this. She still had a look of shock on her face, but her tongue was rolling the ice back and forth in her mouth to melt it. Good, huh? The queen looked down at the bowl of shaved ice and then back up at me. She pointed at the dessert in front of her.
얼음?
Yep, that's ice.
얼음.
She ate another bite, trying to figure out the mystery behind the bizarre dessert. That bite was completely involuntary. Yes, success.
Delectamente.
That must have meant delicious? It would be quite embarrassing if it meant something else, though. She took another bite. Her face slowly started to soften up. I was just glad she didn't think I was poisoning her anymore. The queen looked at her invisible translator again. Then she looked at me and said,
맛있어.
Wow. Seeing the thankful expression in her face was quite touching. The Queen Salt began eating little bites here and there, careful not to disturb the overall presentation. I felt so proud to have the Queen eat my own creation with such elegance and grace. I never felt like this when kids came to eat. I never felt like this when kids came in to eat. How strange. After the bowl was completely emptied out, I listened as she properly introduced herself again. Before she tried to communicate, though, she went into a corner and felt the foreign words roll off her tongue. She must have wanted to test her pronunciation on the translator before speaking the words to me. Did it actually exist, this invisible translator?
음식 대접 고맙다.
Well, it's nothing. I can give you as much shaved ice as you want. I had to throw away the leftover product at the end of the day anyway.
얼음.
Queen Salt stood there quietly for a second before continuing her thought. At first, I thought she was figuring out what she wanted to say, but the more I watched her, the more it seemed like she was just waiting on whatever translator she had in front of her. She had to put whatever I said through her translator and then translate whatever she wanted to say before speaking it. Of course, that would take some time. But she stopped after one word. Ice. What about ice?
왜 얼음 먹지?
I'm not sure what you mean. It's just something we eat. I guess you don't have shaved ice where you're from.
얼음 벽을 만들 때 쓴다. 먹는 것 아니다.
Bricks were made out of ice in her world? Then I fed bricks to Queen Salt. If you think of it like that, it must have been quite the culture shock. If a country used ice as bricks, was she from the North Pole? Guessing from her outfit, the chances of her coming from a cold climate were pretty high. We eat ice here. Just relax. We don't use ice for bricks. It's just food.
이상하다.
What's strange?
너의 말 조금씩 들린다.
Huh? Then you couldn't hear what I was saying before? No way. Did she just have a hearing problem?
그런 뜻 아니다. 너의 말이 서서히 이해된다.
Huh?
여기에 안 보이나?
Queen Salt gestured to the air in front of her.
이렇게 쓰여 있다. 한국어 레벨 2.
Then it was level 1 when we first met? She nodded. It just changed to level 2. She nodded again. So that means you're slowly learning my language.
그대 이것이 보이나?
No, I don't see anything. She still seemed confused. Queen Salt's glance kept moving between me and some invisible status window. Level 2 understanding. It was like a game. Was it like an experience bar in an RPG game? Her sigh seemed to say, no good worrying about it.
귀공은 누군가?
Maybe it was because she just hit the next level, but the queen started to sound a bit more like royalty. I already told her my name, so was she asking for my job title? CEO.
CEO?
I own this restaurant.
귀공은 요리사?
Well, I make the food, so I guess that makes me the chef.
그렇군. 해괴한 요리 고맙다.
I couldn't tell if it was an insult or a compliment. Queen Salt gazed at the air in front of her yet again.
그런데 귀공은 이게 안 보이나?
No, whatever it is, invisible translator or status bar, I don't see anything, Your Grace.
그렇다면 이것이 왜 생겼는지도
I can't even see it, so I definitely have no idea why it's there for you.
이해했다. 귀공의 주인은 어디 있나?
Excuse me?
귀공의 주인.
What? Queen Salt turned and glared at the invisible translator. She seemed to be getting frustrated, thinking that I didn't understand what she wanted to say. But I understood her perfectly well. She was asking me where my owner was, wasn't she? I don't have an owner.
사망했나?
No, it's because... in this day and age, wait, could it be that? If she came from a different culture? Are you looking for some nobleman or king?
비슷하다. 성주는 어디 있나? 나를 성주에게 인도하라.
Oh, before we get to Lords, there are no castles here. She'd probably die of shock if she took a step outside. The Lord of the Castle. She really did sound like a character for some fantasy world. Could that actually be the case? Anyway, I am the owner of this place. Only me. There's only one... only me. There is no one above or beneath me.
이해하기 어렵다.
Well, there are no slaves, no peasants, and no nobility in this country. There is that expression about those born with silver spoons, though. I am not a dream. Could this really be that shocking? Was it really so bad that she just wanted to deny it was real? Queen Salt walked over to the door. She opened the door all the way and stared at the world on the other side. I wouldn't... you probably aren't ready to see all that. Queen Salt took it all in, looking more and more surprised with every passing second. I couldn't tell which part was the most surprising to her. She closed the door again. She stood there with her mouth hanging open, completely dumbfounded. Then, very quietly, she said something to herself. I couldn't understand what she said, but it was very quiet and sounded like some phrase in her own language. She lifted her head to look straight back at me. She looked me right in the eye. She said something and it sounded like she was on the verge of tears.
밖이 왜 이렇게 따뜻한가?
I looked at her, listening to the sadness in her voice. Maybe what truly shocked her was not the sight of this foreign city, but the temperature. This queen, where in the world was she from? Oh, kinda takes a long time to save. That's interesting. Okay, we'll stop it there. This is Apostrophe. You've been watching Miracle Snack Shop running on Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I mean, this is available on the PC for quite a long time. Been available for the Switch for a little under a year. I did not see this on the PlayStation Store, but I wasn't really looking all that carefully. It might have been on the PlayStation 4. I don't imagine it was on the PlayStation 5. But it's a pretty interesting little visual novel. This is closer to like a romance, like a fantasy romance than anything else, which I don't do a lot of here. But I figured it'd be a little nice change of pace from all the other stuff we've been doing. I'll try to find some horror visual novels that we could possibly finish within the month of October. It's just most horror visual novels are pretty long. And the really, really interesting ones can take upwards of like, 50 or 60 hours. So I don't think we can quite do that. But I would definitely suggest folks to check out Miracle's Knife Shop. Obviously, the native language is Korean. So if you're more comfortable with Korean, you'll be able to understand the voices natively. But the subtitles are okay. There's definitely some awkward phrases in here, so the translation is not perfect, but I think you could still get by and enjoy it, regardless of that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.